what's up? This is L from the Real Life Fishing Show. Glad you could join me tonight. I put a video out a couple days ago about that the walleye were biting outside of Lorraine. Again, the action was spotty, but yes, they were hitting. It is very hit or miss. You know, the weather's been crazy around here. We have not had any type of good luck. No wind from the west. It's very muddy, very murky. The river's running high, and it's, you know, Rocky River's doing pretty good from what I seen. I drove by down there the other day, and they were packed elbow to elbow, steelhead fishing. But I'm just waiting for this perch season to start, this walleye season to get in. And again, so I just want to touch bases on some baits that we could use and lures and tackles that we could use outside of Lorraine shore fishing, Vermilion, Huron, any of these areas, Avon Point, because again, this is the Real Life Fishing Show, and a lot of us are shore fishing, and I want to give these opportunities and for people to figure out that they could actually land a good walleye. So the first thing I want to touch basis on is, again, jigs. Jigs for walleye is probably one of the best ways to fish off of shore. One, it gets you to where you need to go. Two, you could add so many different presentations. You could change rubber baits. This is a 4-inch saltwater minnow. You could use leeches, worms, all types of rubber lures. And jigs could be used so many different ways. You could slip bob them. You could cast them. So again, it's something simple, something very cheap, but it's actually very effective. We all know about the crankbaits. That's something that is proven to work numerous times again. But the problem with crankbaits from fishing from shore is that you get the distance, but by the time you retrieve it to get to your point, you haven't reached the fish where the fish are sitting at. They might be sitting 12 foot down. You're casting 100 foot. By the time you retrieve it at 50 foot in, you're only about 9 foot in. So I kind of rigged up a little system that I like to use, which is kind of a 3-way system. So if you just give me a second, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's one of the cranks I bought. Big lip crank I bought from Posey's Bait and Tackle. Go get yourself some custom painted colors. Love these things. They go for 12 bucks. But what I like to do is I like to tie a 4-foot leader. So again, I shrunk it down so it could be in film. I like to tie a 4-foot leader straight to a barrel swivel, inline sinker. The third barrel swivel, the third eye, will go to the main line. Okay, so let's just show this again. Crankbait, swivel, inline sinker, main line to the third eye. And what this does is this actually helps you actually cast a little bit further, but it gets you down to the depth that you need to get to. So if you're fishing off of Lorraine rocks, which the deepest part I would say is about 14, 15 feet, the walleye normally hold around 12 foot there. So jigging works for them because jigging will hit the bottom, but again, jigging isn't as heavy. So if you want to use a crank, use this system. I promise you this will work. This will get you down to the bottom. Using an inline sinker would avoid snags. It actually helps you get down to the bottom, and it gives you the action that the crank needs to get to. So it'll get you there faster at the further distance, so you'll get to the fish faster, and it will produce. So again, a 3-way system will work really good. And just again, it works with fall cranks, lipless cranks, big lip cranks. It also works with your lighter jigs. You know, it also works with flies. If you want to use that floating flies, it'll get you down, but because it'll naturally float, it's going to have that action down at 12 foot. So that's pretty exciting. Another lure that I like to use is Tom's Triple Teaser. Love these little minnows. These are little 1-ounce jigs. They can be fished 3 ways: up top, up front, or they even come with an extra treble hook, so you can switch the hook up to give you double hook action. But these things can be cast in, and because they weigh 1 ounce, it's actually a very nice lure. These things get plenty of action. I got them in all colors. They're actually an older bait, but older lure. But if you could find them, flea market, garage sale, possibly even online, these things work wonders. And they also work for ice fishing. So Tom's Triple Teasers, they're very good for walleye fishing. Shore fishing, I love them. Casting, drifting, trolling, they work for everything. But so again, Tom's Triple Teaser, we're talking about shore fishing. This is a very good option that people don't think about. So let's move on to the next fish, which a pretty good season's coming on. It's one of my favorite fish to fish for. is the white bass. I really love white bass action. When you get into a school, whether it's in the river or the bay, it's really phenomenal. The action's amazing. There's a lot of ways to fish for them. But again, we're talking about shore fishing, so I want to talk about a couple options. First option is always the jig. Simple as that, cast and reel. Artificial lure, put a minnow on there, cast and reel when you see a school, trust me, you'll get them. Something that the older guys like to use, which I still love to use to this day, it's one of my favorite things since I was little, is a popper. This thing is amazing. You tie it straight to your main line. Take this as the main line. Tie this to your main line. On the back of it, you have an eye. So you tie. I like to tie about a 2.5, 3 foot leader. I like to pre-tie mine. This is my system for coming up here. It's ready to go. And another, I took one of them 4-inch saltwater minnows and just took the tail off. And I mean, that's a very pretty minnow. And the action on that is very good. So again, white bass, very good to fish with. The pop. All right, guys, I ran out of memory there, but I'm back now. Just to recap, we were talking about the white bass, and again, the poppers, I love them. Something, it's fun for kids, and it never gets old, and it does produce. Works good. I have a John boat. I really enjoy this thing. So my son enjoys it. When you get into white bass, it's really fun. The other thing I wanted to talk about, which I always take a couple kids fishing with me, and my kids and my old lady and stuff. And some kids, they like to act like they know a little bit, and they just don't want you to think that they don't know anything. You know how kids are. But and just in certain adults as well, bait presentation when you're fishing is key to how you, whether you're using minnows, worms, red worms, red wigglers, green worms, whatever you want to use is fine and dandy, but the way you present that bait is key to how the fish is going to react. Fish have an instinct to hit something that looks like it's injured or it's dying, it's weak. They just have an instinct, whether they're not hungry or not. If it passes their face and it looks good to them, if it looks like an easy meal, they're going to go for it. So again, talking on that aspect, presentation and technique is key. Read up as much as you can. Learn as much as you can. I try to spend as much time in the bait shops as I can, because you get a lot of old timers in there and they teach you a lot. You hear a lot of stories, and you know, it's something you never stop learning, especially with fishing. You have a lot of options and it never gets old. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, and